So the war on the genders continues. Yep. How do I say that? Well, we've had all of these programming from your media, from your television set, from your books and your magazines. We've had a feminist movement, which was never about equal rights for women to begin with. It was all a ploy and a lie. We have a society built on lies and propaganda. And at the top of the list, we have as much division as we can create, from sports to boxing to entertainment. What you want to call entertainment. So you're watching sports, you're watching boxing, right? We promote violence. We promote beating the shit out of one another. It's entertainment. It's fun watching each other beat the fuck out of each other. Excuse my language. Okay, watching football, watching baseball, watching basketball, rigged, stage show. But you got your favorite team, and the other people got their favorite team. Not everybody can agree on what team they like. The idea of sports is supposed to be entertainment. But you literally take it for real, for serious. And when your team's not winning, you get mad, you get frustrated, you get upset, you get mad at somebody that's rooting for the team that's beating your team. And then you want to go pick a fight with a fan of the other team because they're rooting for the team you're against. Division. That's right. And the feminist movement for years now has been helping them create more division amongst the genders. And power and greed absolutely has no end. And media for years now has done nothing but male bash, male bash, male bash, male bash, male bash, male bash. The most protected gender in society for years and years now has actually been the female gender. Now, don't get me wrong, the female gender has also been used, exploited, abused. Okay? But they're still the most protected. And you're going to say, well, how can that be when they're used, abused, and exploited? Well, because the boys are also used, abused, and exploited. And the female gender, thanks to gender roles and social, which is social conditioning, programming. And thanks to double standards, and you all know what I'm talking about. Double standards, we have a world full of them that favors the female and slams the man, male bashes the man. Yet sitcom after sitcom painting the man out to be stupid, dumb, and ignorant, and the woman to be beautiful, smart, and intelligent, over and over and over. A guy couldn't do simple thing, man couldn't do simple thing like laundry or house chores or cooking because a man just absolutely fucks everything up a man touches. Excuse my language again. But this is what they promote. And the woman, well, she's just a genius. She does everything correct and the man does everything wrong. The man is never right. The woman's always right. This is social conditioning. And you get people that fall for these lies and propaganda. And for years, we hear the feminists whining and crying and lying to the public how they live in a rape culture. And that's all men think about is sex. But what the women don't want you to know is they think about sex every bit as much as you do, the men do. They sure do. What they don't want you to know is they also want sex just as much. They don't want you to know that. Then you have Lifetime movies and soap operas that are dedicated, romance books that are dedicated to creating division, drama. Dedicated to helping destroying relationships to keep us divided. And women want to call that women's pornography, and a lot of guys want to say, yeah, that's women's porn. And that's not really women's porn at all. It's conditioning, it's programming. It's directed towards the women. Just like everything in society is marketed towards the woman. Walk into any Walmart, any Target, any outlet that sells a little of everything and look and see what you find in the clothing section for men, and then go over and look at the women's clothing section, and you'll be really surprised. Walk into any Salvation Army or Goodwill and go to a thrift store and go through the clothing section, and you'll find out that the majority of the clothing section is the women's. The men have this little corner over here everywhere you go. The majority of everything is marketed to the woman. Okay, the woman is the most protected. The woman looks for the provider and the protector. Nowadays, it's not even the provider anymore because there's a bunch of women out earning the men. No lie, fact, in today's society. So the guy would not be the provider anymore when women are out earning him. You hear the lies and the propaganda how men are making so much more than women, and women are being held down and discriminated against, and it's all lies. I'll tell you what, women, for all the women who believe this hocus pocus, I'll trade places with you. Since I'm the privileged, I would love to trade places with you because I'll love the abuse you go through. I really will. I'll absolutely love it. Because when I'm the one reaping the rewards, and I call that abuse, that's right. When I'm the one that has all the pick and all the choice, that's right. When I'm the one that has all these white knights and vaginas running to my rescue, bending over and kissing my you-know-what, desperate to get into my you-know-what, but I'm the victim, huh? Do you follow what I'm saying? Now, I'm not saying women are not victims because they are. But what I'm telling you is men are victims and they're not allowed to be victims because society told you that men can't be a victim. That's right. Society says that men are not a victim. Men are born villains. You know, I was looking at a movie this morning. Vengeance, that's right. It's a current movie. It's 2017 made. Yep. And I was thinking about this as I was watching it. It was like watching another Lifetime movie. It really was. It's not a Lifetime movie, but it might as well have been. It was directed to male bashing and painting men out to be villains and rapists and rapists and rapists. And it was promoting the rape culture that we don't live in, making it sound like as if we do. And so four guys brutally raped this woman in front of her daughter. Okay, and of course this fancy attorney got the case dismissed before it ever went to trial that the guys were innocent. Okay, of course, you know. And so she was the victim. And she was the victim of the rape culture. And it was talked about, you know, you think about rape culture in today's society, the rape culture, the rape culture. Let's think about when the boy went to school. He was taught immediately as he was sexually discriminated against because of his gender that he's to never lay his hands on a woman. The boys are to not hit girls. Why would that be? Why wasn't we taught that nobody hits nobody? Why did we even bring a gender into it? Well, because we had to bring a gender into it. How else could we create division? How else could we divide you up and make you fight one another? So, but anyhow, needless to say, this movie was dedicated to creating the very thing that don't exist. Because it's conditioning, it's programming. So let's think about gender roles. Let's think about what they've done for us. They've placed one gender above another. And then, of course, our media helps do that, and the books and magazines help do that, and music helps do that, because 90% of all love songs is wrote to the woman. When do you hear a love song wrote to the man? You don't. If you do, it's a rarity. You might want to mark that one on the calendar because it's promoted to the woman. You think this is no big deal, but this is a big deal because this is all part of conditioning, setting the mindset to cause the problem that it's caused. But what the women don't see coming is what they're creating. What the media, what Hollywood, and what's being created. The feminists spent years bellowing now that they live in a rape culture. But yet, gender roles and programming, social engineering, and the modeling industry, and the fashion industry, and the pornography that, women don't watch pornography? My ass. Excuse my language again. Yes, they do. Oh, yeah, women watch pornography. You want to think it's only men. So how did this pornography get there if you'd watch with a woman in it? Because after all, women, they don't like sex. They wouldn't anticipate in that because that's only a man behavior. So when you go look at pornography and it's filled full of women, how'd they get there? Oh, I know they were forced at gunpoint, right? No, they wasn't. Okay, then let's look at another trade that's on the streets that's been out here, and you want to call it the world's oldest profession. Hookers. The females selling their body. And dumb guys coming along and giving them money to put their you-know-what and go you-know-where. See, it's all sick, it's all disgusting, and that's not no profession. That's a disgrace. But it helps to inflate the ego, doesn't it? Sure does. Inflates the woman's ego. Tells her she's better than the guy because he's so desperate he has to pay to get some. That's right. So we pushed pornography. We told you all there's a rape culture, the feminists did, right? And we created, through the fashion industry, people's attractions. Through Hollywood, through the fashion industry and the modeling industry. So you got to take into account all the sitcoms, all the movies, all the magazines, and the modeling industry and all of this. And when you put it all together and really think about it, what you find to be attractive has been programmed into you since the time you was a child. And it's all been dedicated for one reason. Because it helps to divide the genders. So you have 80% of the women chasing after 20% of the men. That's no lie. And anymore, it'd be more like 85% of the women chasing after 15% of the men. That's not a lie. That's fact. That leaves a whole lot of men that ain't going to get anybody in their life. But you don't see a problem with it because the majority of the women don't even know what's going on. Because they're mindlessly fluffing stuff and think that there's a woman for everybody when there's not, because all the women pretty much are chasing the same thing. Of course, not all of them, but a big percentage. Why are they all chasing the same thing? Well, because nobody wants to be ostracized. Nobody wants to be called names, made fun of, and mocked, and ridiculed. And that includes women. The programming has told them this is what they need to look for, and they've picked out the percentage, and they all want to fit in. So that's the percentage the majority of the women will chase after. And that leaves a high number of men without the possibility of getting a woman in their life. That's where TFL comes from. So you have a lot to blame for that. But now let's look at the reality. After doing this and causing so many men to be without, and nobody cares because we've lost our ability to care, right? The cremation of care, when they incinerated care and dumped the ashes of care out to sea and it's long gone, don't exist no more. So through all that hocus pocus, what you done now, you got the feminist movement crying, we got a rape culture, and we're pushing pornography and we're over-sexing everybody. We've replaced real love with sex. We got children dressing up 3/4 naked and dancing and getting up in the public and nobody sees no problem with it. Just like John Benet Ramsey, huh? You don't see no problem with it. The feminist movement's got little girls believing that they're being suppressed and held down by men and that men are privileged, when in reality, the more privileged is the female, not the female, not the male. But everything is turned upside down on his head. So you will be the perpetrator and victimize somebody, and then you will tell everybody that the person you victimized did that to you and play the victim role as well. And we see this going on all the time, don't we? So let's think about something. Through everything I've just said, you got this high number of men that can't get in their life, but they're being over-sexualized through their society, through social conditioning. So what do you think the outcome of that might be, huh? And women don't care. I mean, and what? Because most of them don't even see it. And the ones that do see it, their ego inflates big and high and their head swells. And they get a power trip out of it. And they feel, oh, yes, I'm a goddess. And how many times have you heard the word goddess used? That's right, towards the female. So now their head even swells up bigger, and they really believe that the guy's somehow third-class status in life. And they're up on the top, okay? Because their ego overinflated because of everything. So you know what you're creating? The very thing that the women say the feminist women want to create, they live in, because they don't live in a rape culture. Because rape is not condoned by anybody. It sure isn't. A real rape is not condoned by nobody. Anybody that perpetrates the real rape is not condoned in society. You know what happens to a guy if he's a rapist when he goes to prison? He don't want to go there. Because when he goes to prison, he's going to be the one that's going to be victimized and beat because he raped somebody. Because rape isn't condoned. So how do you live in a rape culture when it's not condoned? You don't. But you know what you are doing? You're creating one. Now you're going to say you're not, but yes you are. Because when you have a high percentage of men who can't get nobody, and out of that high percentage of men, you have a bunch of white knights and vaginas that are so desperate, men won't even stand up to a female anymore. I'm not talking about abuse. I'm talking about standing up for yourself as a man. I ain't going to do that. Majority of men will not stand up to a female. They will cower down, put their tail between their legs, and run. They will bend over, kiss her, you know what, and do every baking call because they're desperate. Because they don't want to be ostracized by that woman, because they're going to spend a long time looking to try to get another woman in their life. And they know it. And of course, unless they're the bad boy. Or they're that movie star. They're that Brad Pitt. That's right. Then they'll have the women flocking all over them. If they're in that 15%, 20 to 15%, they ain't going to have an issue. But the majority of men will never be in that 15, 20%, so they will always have the issue, and it won't be their fault. But what will happen is these men will become over-sexualized, which they have. And these movies are going to keep making, perpetrating a guy as all men are rapists. How many times have you heard this from the feminist movement? All men are rapists. They're born a rapist. They're born a villain. Literally born a villain. I don't know why when the baby boy wasn't born, you didn't take the little baby boy and drop him in an incinerator or a garbage disposal. You know, I was thinking about that. We could take 4 brand new baby boys that are 2 weeks old, and we could paint on their forehead, villain, rapist. Matter of fact, there was a baby that feminist women really did on this baby boy, write this type of stuff all over their body. All over that boy's body. That's no lie, that's fact. They took this little baby boy, feminist women did. They wrote rapist, villain, perpetrator. They wrote all kinds of evil shit all over this boy's body just because he was a boy. This is how bad it's become. So you know what you're doing. You're going to create that culture that you're whining, that right now don't exist, it's not condoned. Enough men are going to get so sick and tired of it. And since they're being constantly told they are, when they're not, and it's never been condoned, One day they're going to say, well, since that's what I naturally am, according to you anyhow, even when I'm not, then I might as well be doing the crime that I'm being accused of. And once that mindset takes place, you women better look out. Because then you will have successfully created the lie you've been preaching. It's sad, it's sick, but this is the world we live in, where people are too stupid to understand that women and men are both human beings. The man would not be here without the woman, and the woman would not be here without the man. The DNA in them children come from both parents. That's correct. Somebody's body had to be the one to produce it. So if it was flipped around and the man was the one that got pregnant, the women wouldn't appreciate everything being flipped around and them being done onto the way they do onto men. Now, don't get me wrong. Once again, I understand that there's sex trafficking and all kinds of stuff pushed and you got pimps. And you know what I'd do with a pimp? I'd shoot him in the head and drop him and leave him there to bleed out and walk away. That's what I would do with a pimp. Because he's a perpetrator, he's a villain. He is the real villain. Not all men. Do you get me wrong? It's like you have women pimps too. Yes, you do. They're given a different name, but they're still the same thing. You know, so society is sick. That's all I got to tell you. It's sick. We live in a very sick society where programming has been the biggest tool, and that most people just can't understand it. How the dating scene rolled into politics, how the dating scene rolls into NWO, New World Order, is above most people's IQs. It's sad, it's ridiculous, but it's in your face. But I guess I'm through with my rant because I've seen what I've seen, and it frustrates me because here you are continuing Hollywood to continue to make movies, to male bash, to male bash, to male bash, to male bash, to male bash. And as a male, you continue to get bashed and bashed and bashed by both genders, by Hollywood, by the media, all the time. The female is always the victim. It's only one guy, 15-20% is picked out to be the hero. The rest of the men on these movies are all perpetrators and villains and monsters. So your TV set in Hollywood is conditioned you really well to not understand that we're all human beings. And this bullshit about men are automatically villains because they're born a boy. I don't know why we're not killing baby boys at birth. Because our society is that fucked up. Excuse my language, but they are. You are that evil. I don't even know why you're bothering allowing that baby boy to grow up. Because you're only going to victimize him and then telling him he's not a victim. You're only going to fill his head full of propaganda. You're going to lay double standards on him. He's going to be held accountable for everything and watch the woman get excused and not be held accountable. He's going to be told he's not allowed to hit a girl instead of nobody's allowed to hit nobody. He's going to be victimized over and over and told he cannot be a victim based on he has a penis between his legs. Meanwhile, he's going to be painted out as the villain by all you sick people. And he's going to grow up in a world where he's taught that he's the villain. He's not allowed to have emotions or feelings. If he cries, he has to have a good excuse, like somebody died in his family, like his mother. Yeah. Or his dad or something, you know. Has to be a really good excuse because he's not allowed to have emotions. Because somehow, because he has a penis between his legs, he's not a human. Because we all know only women have emotions, right? Right? Oh, I know you're going to say no, because men have emotions. Oh, yeah, they're allowed to have a little dinky amount of emotions. When men actually have every bit as much emotions as women do. Oh, that's right, but that's been skewed too. You believe that no, women act out on their emotions and women are emotional creatures and men ain't because we have blah, blah, blah. And you're going to talk about the phony, baloney pony story about the chemistry between men and women. The real reason men don't show their emotions is because they've been conditioned and programmed not to. Because somehow they're not a man if they show their emotions. So they have to bottle them up inside until they explode like a piece of dynamite, stick of dynamite. And then they'll be wrong for exploding because they'll be the perpetrator, they'll be the villain. They've already been crucified by you. So then they'll kill themselves. And then you'll call them weak. And I could go on with this. It makes me sick. The behavior of our society and how stupid you become. Because men and women are both human beings and men and women both have emotions and feelings. And the lies are so thick and you've fallen for almost every last one of them. Disgusting.